I'm Matt Piken, and Fridays on the Overlook belong to the West Asheville venue Story Parlor. They're holding down the first audio residency with the Overlook. Erin Halligan-Clare is the visionary behind Story Parlor, and I'm now turning the microphone over to her.
For today's episode, we spoke with local artists Gina Cornejo and Meta Commerce for a special segment spotlighting Story Parlor's residency program. Both Gina and Meta have graced the Story Parlor stage with their original autobiographical work as part of the Story Arts Residency, which very simply exists to champion the creative voices of locally based artists and art groups from historically marginalized communities here in Asheville. In addition to public performances and/or workshops, artists and residents receive dedicated rehearsal time, an artist stipend, creativity coaching sessions, marketing, promotion, and more. And so, as applications are now open for the next Story Arts residency with Story Parlor, we invited Gina and Meta to share about their experiences, as well as a bit on what they chose to create for their residencies. Oh, and a special side note, the background music is none other than Gina's own father, Ernesto, a Peruvian mariachi singer whose music was featured in her own Story Arts residency.
Tus besos se llegaron a recrear aquí en mi boca, llenando de ilusión y de pasión mi vida loca.
This Story Arts residency that is being provided by Story Parlor is choosing to exist here in Asheville, North Carolina. We as creatives, I believe, are so fortunate to have this location and these very enthusiastic creative hearts behind this mission in order to champion the creative work of locally based artists and groups from historically marginalized communities here in Asheville. It's a chance to amplify your work and to begin to even create more of a connection to the community by inviting in other collaborators to really see the vision of your work in your medium really blossom.
This is Meta Commerce. The residency at Story Parlor had an array of built-in support, the likes of which I hadn't heard of. The residency reflected the quality they espoused. They recorded my offerings. They provided professional headshots, coaching sessions, access to the space for rehearsals. They provided media promotion, along with a sense of total support and creative freedom for the performances. It was an experience of artistic humanity rather than competition and perfection.
What you can expect from the Story Arts residency is a tremendous amount of support. You have the opportunity to chat with our fellow artists on the board of Story Parlor, with me, a previous Story Arts residency resident, and I am so excited to be able to connect with and collaborate with, provide support for the new artists coming in who really might need some guidance or to shape their projects for the Story Arts residency showcase and performance that they dream up. What I chose to do for the artist residency was totally immerse the audience and myself within a project I had been constructing with a few collaborators of mine, Stuart Owen Dance and Josh Fink. And we had so much material to share with a project I had called Dirty Laundry, all autobiographical writing, and we made it into a film. We took the writing that I had into a film format. So when I did apply for the artist residency, I was able to go forward with an idea of how to create a whole other iteration of this project that really began as stories, chapters of stories. Dirty Laundry also provided a landscape of intimacy and playfulness that I decided to amplify once I got into the Story Parlor space. And I partnered with a local baker, my friend Rachel Naso, and we created this immersive quality within wedding treats to have the audience partake in, where we even had a 3-tiered wedding cake for everyone to delight in at my final performance. We also had a champagne toast during a certain story that I share. So we're toasting to this journey of marriage, this journey of divorce, this journey of reclamation, into different identities, in particular into my queer identity. So within the Story Parlor Arts Residency, I truly was given the opportunity to dream big and dive into a new exploration of the work that I had already been creating. I just got a chance to be even more free with the possibility that I could be free within my writing and my creation.
And now settle in for a short excerpt from both Gina and Meta's residency performances, starting with a clip from Gina's show entitled Dirty Laundry, followed by a short compilation from Meta's performance where she shares an excerpt from her memoir, Womaning.
I nuzzle into familiar terrain as he looks down to reverently peel back my forearm flesh to see the one, to see my one, that matches his. His clean fingertip traces my ink, and I watch to witness in his wrinkles, in his furrows, the memory of our memory of that moment when we were both tattooed in New York City with bellies full of brisket, pickles, and champagne. We knock on the dirty glass of the only open parlor nearby, where an ancient man in full dark denim with white long whiskers, a navy wool beanie, and hazy neck tats sits reading that day's Post, chain smoking, flicks his gaze up above the thin wire rim of his spectacles to us outside, and welcomes us in for new ink at the start of this new year. Newlyweds, new to the euphoria of anniversaries, having celebrated our first the day before, among the masses of the freezing, the intoxicated, and the optimistic, kissing at midnight in Times Square as the mirrored ball dropped, where we began to have our tradition of sentimental exchange, of either a shout over any sort of ruckus or a whisper into each other's mouths, one after the other, one.
And so he asks, knowingly, tenderly, what's this mean? It's my racing number. And he begins to cry. I had a small wedding. Softly he says this as the veins in his eyes flush through another hue of red. Me too. And it was perfect.
It is wonderfully appropriate that this place and Maida connected, because this place is for the recognition of the power of story. And so I am not only honored, but eager to introduce to you Maida Commerce.
This first piece is entitled Mama Frank. I wrote it for my grandmother. Mostly she sauntered, that ever elegant sidewalk two-step, disguising the tired before my 8-year-old eyes. Not until today, after she'd been gone so long from here that her strong memory shows up in my ideas, etched on my face, in my hair, in the things I don't but need to say. Surprises I miss, empty spaces left open before God, in the change ever present, in the half bend of my knee, jokes I don't get yet, in the steady passage of time that until today had been kept locked down and quiet. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hi friends, this is Erin, the founder and artistic director of Story Parlor. Just a reminder that applications for the upcoming Story Arts Residency are due on April 30th. And please know, even though this episode spotlights our first 2 artists in residence as individual artists, we are open to receiving applications from art-based initiatives and organizations that fulfill the mission of the Story Arts Residency program. We'll be right back with more on the Story Arts Residency hosted by Story Parlor after this.
Want to see some fantastic theater for free? There are 4 remaining productions on the Magnetic Theater's 2023 calendar, and we're randomly giving away 2 pairs of tickets to each of them. Just sign up for the Overlook's weekly newsletter. Anyone subscribed by the end of April is eligible. Go to podavl.com, that's podavl.com, and scroll to the bottom of the homepage. Plug in your name and email address on the newsletter sign-up form, and you might become a new fan of the Magnetic Theater thanks to the Overlook.
We're back with a special spotlight on Story Parlor's Story Arts Residency, featuring past artists in residence Gina Cornejo and Maida Commerce. But first, a quick excerpt of some of the music that Gina decided to incorporate in her own residency program entitled Dirty Laundry, featuring the music of her father, Ernesto Cornejo.
piel. Comprende lo que sufro yo. Canto, pues ya no puedo sollozar. Solo, temblando de ansiedad estoy. Todos me miran y se van.
The music that you're hearing right now is my father, Ernesto Cornejo, and his trio, Voces de Oro, which is Voices of Gold. I chose to incorporate this music as pre-show music to Dirty Laundry, and I chose this music, I chose his music in particular to be an atmospheric choice for me of the absence of his presence, of the absence of the presence of my father during this time of marriage and divorce and aftermath. My parents were divorced, and my father passed away when I was younger. So it's something I get to excavate now, what that separation looks like for me now as an adult, and me going through these same big milestones as an adult with my own divorce. So his presence in the show incorporates a larger theme.
¿Quién sabe por dónde andas? ¿Quién sabe qué aventuras tendrás? Qué lejos estás de mí. Mujer, si puedes tú con Dios hablar, pregúntale si yo alguna vez te he dejado de adorar. Mujer, si puedes tú con Dios hablar, pregúntale si yo alguna vez te he dejado de adorar. Y al mar, espejo de mi corazón, las veces que me has visto llorar, la perfidia de tu amor. Te he buscado donde quiera que yo.
Incorporating him into the fabric of Dirty Laundry and into this iteration was very important for me to highlight what he might think he wants for me now. So it's almost a chance for me to receive a blessing from him that I hope I would have gotten.
¿Quién sabe qué aventuras tendrás? Qué lejos estás.
This is a poem that I read during my one-woman show. It is entitled Mother Utility, So Much Finer, for Aunt Dolores. Works, miracles, whitewashed and heavy-starched, she brings life, sings lullabies, spins cloth, keeps gates, makes homes, she tells jokes, weaves dream stories, protects strong men and babies, she directs traffic, lets them go through her body and best dance moves, pass go through scripted, circumspect syllables. Her parceled, polished sounds, doings, and presence, all plumb pleasing. Admits no limits, allows no gap between her knowings and professings. She runs, for she's still got it. Still moves refrigerators, she replaces broken window panes, changes locks without notice, she produces milk enough for butter. Her hands drop smooth pebbles into a purple velvet gunny sack. Those hands hold life together with such force that their memory drives the train once she's gone. Heals the sick with downbeat wisdom, cooks, irons, cleans, and sews. She spews, maintains meticulous beauty, even and until her final act, when the clock strikes 12, and she's got nothing left to prove or save, no more, no need to entertain. Done humming those faded melodies, she tells the time one last time and nods, takes her bow, leaves a sparkling, stunning, floral-scented stage finer, so much finer than she found it.
Que te ha de querer más, encuentre o no razón. Ay, para quererte a ti, un solo corazón, y yo lo tengo aquí.
If you decide to investigate a bit more into this Story Arts residency option, I highly recommend it because what you do receive as a part of this program is incredible. Everything from professional headshots to an artist stipend and just to the performance opportunity that is available in that beautiful, intimate space of Story Parlor. All of it is an opportunity to accelerate whatever projects you might have in mind that you can really sink your teeth into for a very meaty exploration of what you're choosing to do next in line for your artwork.
Toni Morrison inspired my creative life. I once heard her say that she writes out her books first in longhand before typing anything. I once heard her say that we must write the books we need to read. Her stories champion the people in our communities who we think of as the lowest and turns their lives into an education for anyone paying attention.
De querer más, encuentre o no razón. Ay, para quererte a ti, un solo corazón, y yo lo tengo aquí.
Thank you to our past artists in residence and featured guests on today's episode, Gina Cornejo and Meta Commerce. And thanks to all of you out there for listening. Story Parlor's residencies exist to champion the creative work of locally based artists and art groups hailing from historically marginalized communities in the quest to amplify and bridge together the diverse fabric of voices here in Asheville. Applications are now open through April 30th, with preference given to applicants who cross disciplines, embrace collaboration, and present a residency proposal that embodies the core elements of storytelling through all art forms. I'm Erin Halligan-Clare, founder and artistic director at Story Parlor. Story Parlor is a multidisciplinary art space in West Asheville dedicated to storytelling, creativity, and the exploration of the human experience with a robust calendar of events and classes for the community and by the community. You can find out more about what we have coming up, including our Story Arts residency, at www.storyparloravl.com.
Un minuto de